Right, so this will be the last video on worksheet for the grade 9s. Question 1, showing the impact on accounting equation. Just going to go through this again. In this video, assets is what we want because we use the assets to generate an income. How do we buy the assets? By using our own money, owner's equity, or by borrowing money, liabilities. That is why this accounting equation states that assets is equal to owner's equity plus liabilities. The left hand side, this you can see the T, capital letter T, that's why it's called a T account. The left hand side is the debit side, the right hand side is the credit side of any of these accounts. You will see with assets that the plus is on the left hand side or debit side and the minus is on the credit side. You will see that the pluses is on the credit side for owner's equity, the opposite of assets, and the same for liabilities. Okay, and then the minuses for owner's equity and liabilities is on the left hand or debit side. Okay, we want as much assets or as many assets as possible, and we generate that, or we do that, or buy that by using our own money or borrowing from other people. Okay, so I want to do transaction number 7, 8, and 9, showing the effect on the accounting equation. Okay, bought land and buildings via an EFT, 2.5 million. Okay, an EFT is a electronic funds transfer, but it's money out of your bank account. So the one account is bank, and whatever we are buying will be our other account. That's land and buildings. Okay, so bank is an asset, okay, and what happens to the bank when I'm buying the land and buildings? What happens to bank? Bank decreases. So you will see 2.5 million on the credit side because it is decreasing my asset. It's decreasing my asset with 2.5 million. Which asset is decreasing? The asset bank. But what are we also buying? We're buying land and buildings. Land and buildings is also an asset. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to debit it. I'm going to debit land and buildings. Right? The reason why I'm debiting land and buildings, firstly, the rule of thumb says that anything that I've purchased or paid for, I will debit. Okay, but the reason why, the other reason, or the main reason why I'm actually debiting it is because land and buildings is also an asset. And I've got more land and buildings now. So I'm going to put the 2.5 million on the left hand or debit side. So it's a plus to 2.5 million and a minus 2.5 million. Okay, I'm testing myself for the whole transaction. I've got a debit and a credit in terms of the transactions or the accounts. Then I've got a plus 2.5 million and a minus 2.5 million. If I add the two together, I get 0. 0, and there's an equal sign in the middle. 0 is equal to 0 on the other side as well for the accounting equation. I've got a debit transaction of 2.5 million and I've got a credit transaction of 2.5 million. Therefore, I know I worked correctly over here. That's transaction 7. Transaction 8, paid interest and an overdraft bank account 800 Rand. Okay, so what's the two accounts? Bank is the one, okay, and interest on overdraft. Interest on overdraft there. Okay, right. Bank, as we know, is an asset account. What happens to the bank when I'm paying? The bank asset decreases with 800 Rand, so it's minus 800 Rand under assets. It's on the credit side, so I have to write bank there as well. I don't have any other option. Interest on overdraft is the other accounts. I must put it on the debit side. Now, the reason why interest on overdraft is on the debit side, I will explain to you now. Interest of overdraft is an expense account, okay? And I can also see it's an expense account because it's decreasing the value of my owner's equity. So I'm going to put 800 Rand on the debit side over here. So it's decreasing the value of my business. So that's why it's on the left hand or debit side of owner's equity. Okay, so is minus 800 equal to minus 800? Yes. Is there a debit and a credit account, specific account? Yes. And is there a debit and a credit over here in terms of the 800 rands? Yes, there is a credit under assets and there is a debit under owner's equity. So I know I work correctly and I can allocate my 4 marks for the transaction. Last one, paid 60 Rand for consumables from the petty cash box. Okay, now I didn't pay it from the bank account, so petty cash will be my one account. Petty cash. Petty cash is an asset account, and then the other account is called consumables. What did I buy? Consumables. Now, rule of thumb is whatever I'm purchasing or whatever I'm paying for will be debited. So consumables will be debited. I'm paying for that, and then I'm paying it out of the petty cash box that will be credited. Now, let's just apply the rules. So it's a mark for each one of those. Now, petty cash is an asset. Okay, so assets will be these two columns. It's credited because petty cash becomes less with 60 Rand. So it's minus 60 under assets, and the asset I'm talking about is called petty cash. Then consumables is an owner's equity account. It's an expense. Now, why is it debited? Because owner's equity or the value of the business decreases when I'm paying for consumables. Okay, so now I'm just checking myself. I've got a debit and a credit over here. I've got a minus 60 is equal to a minus 60, so there's 2 marks there. And last test, I've got a credit of 60 Rand and I've got a debit of 60 Rand under owner's equity. So the minus 60 over here, the credit is under assets and the debit is under owner's equity. So that was question 1.